The effects of climate change.
Your friends the gibbons have left. Like almost all the people from our village. Life is no longer possible here. The ground's given way from under us.
Do you remember? That's what the gibbon's daughter, Debbie, said. Our permafrost ground frozen for thousands of years is breaking up. We may soon even be forced to leave our own village. So what's our friend Debbie doing now?
Well, with global warming and the ground thawing, there was no future for our young people here. So they all decided to go off to the city, and their parents went with them.
He started it!
No, it was him.
And yourself? Why are you staying? What are you gonna do?
Well, 4 houses in the village are still habitable, and we old people are creatures of habit. But the seals have gone, and so have the reindeer. So things are getting hard. I fear we'll also have to leave here soon.
Anyway, what help could we realistically give them?
And we did that great issue on the subject. Do you remember the title? Alaska in Danger. A sentinel of our civilization needs our help.
And that's still a relevant headline today.
Well, we did send them a little bit of help.
Yeah, but that was mainly words, not a lot of actions.
Oh, you have helped them, you know. Many people, organizations, and even countries have acted, but it's still not enough. The whole world has to play its part because the problem is global.
Just look, over there.
They look so skinny. They look so hungry.
Yes, the world's changed for them too, but there's nothing we can do.
But how come, Maestro? How has their world changed?
Well, in the beginning, the permafrost was covered by grasses, lichens, and algae. Then came lemmings, foxes, reindeer, walruses, seals, and bears. Yeah, the bears here were brown originally, some 200,000 years ago. They turned white because the whiter they were, the more easily they could hunt. So all this wildlife lived in peace, or almost, according to the natural order of things. Until... there was no more pack ice. So no more animals. They'd gone to search for their pittance elsewhere. Perhaps some seals stayed. But our bear has no chance of catching one on its territory. And even though this bear is so incredibly strong and can go 6 months without eating, once isolated on a sheet of ice and unable to escape, it simply wastes away.
So why don't they go further north, where there is obviously more ice-covered areas and also more food?
But we're already in the far north. Even further north, it's just ice sheets that are breaking up.
So why not take them to the South Pole? You said it was huge and completely frozen down there.
Yeah, well, that's true, but it also reaches temperatures of 60 below, you know. And that'd be lethal to them. No, there's nowhere else for polar bears to go, just like for humans. To think this vast stretch of ocean was all ice for centuries and centuries.
I can't believe it has thawed so much, Maestro.
Well, I'd say about 1 million square kilometers of ice have actually melted just in the last 12 months.
And how big is 1 million square kilometers? That's almost twice the size of France. That's a lot of ice.
But all that melted ice will raise sea levels everywhere, won't it?
No, not at all. Although that ice has been frozen for ages, it is only water. There's no land to support the ice at the North Pole. And water doesn't increase in volume when it melts. Just look. You see? Same level. But you know all about that, of course. But if we were talking about the glaciers of Greenland melting, well, that would be a very different story.
What would happen, Maestro?
It's getting colder, everyone, and it's time for dinner.
On behalf of us all, I'd like to thank you, Captain, for agreeing to have us on board. It's helped us better understand the pace of global warming on the planet.
And make us realize our efforts to save the planet are urgent.
Well, I'm with you 100%, my dear friends. And as Maestro's an old friend of mine, well,
Yeah, that's great. But I did want to mention that your cabins aren't too comfortable. Well, what do the rest of you think?
Tomorrow, we'll be sailing off the coast of Greenland. There'll be more ice there. It's a pity we have to go back. Did you know the passage to the Pacific is almost open now?
Really? And how's that then?
This is Baffin Bay, surrounded by Inuit country, and we are in this bay here. Up until recently, all of this was ice. And so for decades, many ships and hundreds of men from every country tried bravely but unsuccessfully to find a passage through this maze of straits. Surrounded by icy lands harder than stone. No ship ever broke its way through. And many never returned. But now we can get through. Can you imagine that? Look, you cut across here and pass below Devon Island, that way. Then you come to Victoria Island, carry on straight ahead, and there you are in the Pacific.
The polar ice cap has shrunk to half its size. That's why it's possible. From the Atlantic to the Pacific via the North. That's just incredible.
But what's so incredible about it?
It means that ships sailing from Europe to Asia have 7,000 kilometers less to travel. A third fewer kilometers, so a third less energy, time, and money, of course.
Wow, you whinge about the cabin size last night. Something else. You don't have to stay on board, you know. You can always get off at the next stop, or the next ice sheet. Hey, how about that one over there? No? Too lonely? Perhaps one with a seal on it then? No. One with bears. That'd be much better.
Ha ha ha! You're so funny.
Iceberg ahead! To starboard!
When a lump like that breaks away from the ice pack and falls into the sea, best not to be too close, because what hits you is like a tsunami.
Take a look at this Greenland glacier. This ice isn't floating on the sea, but it's actually frozen on land over thousands of years. If that were to melt, then in that case, well, yeah, we really would see a rise in the levels of the sea.
And might it melt?
Those blocks and even the large iceberg we saw earlier come from glaciers like this one. When the sea was frozen, it provided support for the bases of the glaciers. Now, with global warming, some of their ice melts and seeps under the base of the blocks, and as they are no longer held in place by sea ice, well, the blocks slide toward the open water. See what I mean?
Hey! Come on up!
Okay, but be very careful. It can be dangerous.
Wow, that's amazing!
Come down now. That's enough.
Hey, why can't I do that?
Yeah, well done.
Well done.
Hey, well, I could do that too. Help! Help me! I can't hold on. I'm slipping.
Well, I hope you enjoyed our trip to the far north and found it useful.
Yeah, useful, very useful. And enjoyable, very enjoyable.
We've spoken a lot about this new passage in the north, okay? But which way did the ships go before that?
Can I?
Yes.
Take a look. Here's the famous Northern Passage. And here you see the old, longer passage, passing through the Panama Canal. But the supertankers are too big and have to go round Cape Horn, which is a long and dangerous route. While you were in the north, I heard on TV that they'd found oil deposits down there. Won't that cause more problems?
I'm afraid so. Even though they still have to formally prove the oil is there, to be on the safe side, the Russians have already sent down one of their little submarines to plant their flag at the bottom of the ocean 4,300 meters below the surface.
No one at table has as much coastline around the pole as we Russians do. These lands are ours.
Sorry to disagree with you, but our research shows these lands are the natural extension of Canadian territory.
I insist. Here you have an underwater ridge known as the Lomonosov Ridge, which is attached to Greenland, which is Danish. So these lands are therefore ours.
Excuse me, gentlemen, excuse me. The islands that are nearest the pole are Norwegian, so the territory is ours.
And as for the Americans who own Alaska,
No way!
No way. That's not possible. Not possible.
excuse me, that's Alaska there, you see? It is American. They're not saying anything, but they're sending icebreakers, submarines, and other toys to keep an eye on what's going on. We'll probably see a few examples of our modern achievements, such as oil derricks.
Let's just hope they don't start fighting over the territory.
It's not the time to be arguing over part of our Earth when all countries should be doing what they can to look after it.
But you know that greed and wealth turns men deaf and blind to everything, except their ambition. Look, I'll give you another example.
No way! Nothing will prevent our country from continuing its development.
No, nothing will prevent our country from continuing to develop.
But with all the pollution they cause, which chokes up our atmosphere and actually speeds up global warming, sense will win the day. Those who are blind will see, and the deaf will hear.
And so, what'll happen to them if they don't?
To them, nothing.
And the others? What'll happen to them?
You can't stop the Chinese, Indians, Brazilians, and all the others who want more development.
Well, they have to be shown another way to do so, or given examples, because if not,
If not what?
Well, if we continue in the same way.
Oh no, come back!
That's the pollution we have to deal with, and will continue to have to deal with in an increasingly hot climate. Any questions?
Has the Earth already experienced this kind of warming?
Yeah, more than 3 billion years ago. With the volcanic eruptions and other upheavals that would shape our planet. Then probably about 400 million years ago. But at that time,
There weren't many people around?
there were no people at all.
There were just dinosaurs.
Sorry, we know how much you love them, but there weren't even dinosaurs 400 million years ago.
Are you sure? Well, it still doesn't tell me the effects of global warming.
Higher than usual temperatures and storms, all caused by cloud masses stirred by the heat. Doesn't that sound familiar at all? Drought, thirst, and hunger. Don't they ring any bells?
Hunger around the world with all the food my uncle produces?
Ugh.
And thirst? I don't think so. Don't you remember all those glaciers in the mountains? They're huge and not gonna vanish just like that, are they?
I'm afraid to say that glaciers have already begun to vanish. And all over the world. I would suggest that in order for you to better understand this problem, I take you on a little tour of the glaciers. Would you like that?
Yeah, great idea.
This is self-explanatory. You've seen how it was a short time ago, and now you can see how it is today. Despite what you've seen, this glacier starts a fair way up Mont Blanc. Kilimanjaro, this one's 6,000 meters high. Just look what's left, and even that won't last long. What you see here, kids, is the remains in Alaska of what was once one of the most impressive glaciers in the world. Now, these Andean peaks, located in Peru, are also 6,000 meters high. Just see what this superb glacier was like before. Now then, these glaciers, of which you've just seen a few examples, feed the springs and rivers that supply 70% of our drinking water.
So, what's gonna happen?
It means that the amount of drinking water available to man will be reduced. Just at the time when there are more and more people who need it. That may well lead to some bitter conflicts.
And the South Pole? We'd have loved to have visited there.
Yeah, that's right. We talk about it all the time, but we've never seen it. Loads of water there.
And it wasn't far away when we were in Peru, in South America.
It's not far at all, really. Just 10,000 kilometers. As I told you, it isn't very warm at the South Pole. Minus 60 degrees, and sometimes even lower than that. So unless you're equipped for that sort of expedition, it's not viable. But with temperatures like that on this continent, it's not about to thaw. Fortunately, a layer of ice more than 3 kilometers thick has accumulated over the millennia. Lucky for us. So turning that ice into drinking water would be a huge task.
But the poles are miles away, and I still don't understand how it's going to affect us here.
Me neither.
Oh, what are we gonna do with you two? I know. Listen instead to Nicholas Stern. He's a great economist and respected all over the world. Perhaps he'll make it clear to you.
This is what we can expect from a temperature rise of 1 or 2 degrees. With a rise of 3 degrees...
Oh, maybe we better stop there. In any case, it all gets rather unpredictable, and it won't happen immediately.
And the rise of 2 degrees that Mr. Stern mentioned, is that likely?
Yeah, probably. Not for another 100 years, but who knows? Now, you're familiar with the human activities that are threatening our planet's future. The virgin forest we chop down and destroy. The rivers and seas we mercilessly foul and pollute. These forests and seas used to absorb most of our pollution. Humans are still polluting, and polluting more and more, preventing excess heat from returning back through the atmosphere. So starting right now, we have no option but to halve our consumption of our non-renewable energy. And that won't be easy unless we all act together.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are still like our two friends here. They need to see and feel things to believe them.
But even that's not always enough.
Technicians, scientists, organizations, and many different countries are looking for solutions. Let's hope that human knowledge and wisdom triumphs in the end.